going to hand over now to Jenny, and let me just pin you, Jenny. There you go. So welcome, Jenny, for your first Jolly Learning webinar. And you've done some great work with this product, and I'm not going to steal your thunder. I'm going to let you go ahead with the presentation and explain, and I'll have questions that will be popping up.
All right, let me see if I can share that.
Okay. There we go. We can see if you'd like to go and share screen. Lots of questions about where the books can be obtained, and I'm sure that that information will be put in before the end of the session. So go ahead, Jenny. It's all yours.
Yeah, so these are the Jolly Phonics handwriting books. A little bit about me. I'm Jenny. I was hired as an editor at Jolly Learning, but actually on these books I was also illustrator and designer. And these are what I have been working on. I was hoping that I could find my notes, but I can't find them anywhere. So I'll just have to try and remember them. Yeah, so these are handwriting books. They are designed to be used alongside the main Jolly Phonics system, and to just give children a little bit of extra practice to develop their fine motor control and, yeah, get them sort of started with handwriting. They are decodable for the letters that they've already learned, so they won't have any exercises that they need to be able to, they won't have any exercises they'll need to use decoding to do, but any of the words that they'll be spelling out will be all comparatives they've learned. We will just go into them a little bit. So this is an example of the page layout. On the left, they're going to be learning the letter form, how it's made up. And you can see the illustrations and the practice are all quite integrated. So they have this good visual cue of the sound when they're practicing the letters. And on the right page, they've got the practicing the kind of the forms that go into making the letters. So the up and down to make the ends of the pencils is useful for the P's, the stem of the P's, and then the spiral is quite useful for the, I think it's called the bowl, maybe, the bowl of the P's. I think I look it up every time I talk about these books and then immediately forget it. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the bowl of the P. And then they've got a little bit of practice, you can see on the right-hand page, of letters they've already learnt and putting together a word from the letters they've already learnt, which is tip.
So, Jenny, just going back to that previous slide, another way that this could be used for your classes is you have provided teachers with a great opportunity for finger tracking before they do the activity. And also there is a little icon which gives the teacher a prompt. And we've got...
Yeah, I will get further into the prompts.
But what I wanted to share was that when I was looking at this, I thought this is absolutely great for finger tracking so that children are making that hand-to-eye coordination before they actually attempt to do the task, which is often rushed. We often rush children straight into writing, and doing the finger tracking, making that hand-to-eye coordination is so important. And that's why I love these pages. So sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to mention that.
That's all right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And then, yeah, another example is this R page where, yeah, they've got the R in the rabbit's ears. On the right, the exercise isn't necessarily connected to forming the R, but it's tracing the path of the robot through the maze to drop off his recycling in the bin. And so they're keeping the pencil within the line, which is just another way to develop those fine motor skills, just pencil control, which is really important. And this is the page that you'll have in the middle or after every few letter groups, which is just generally sort of practicing more making words or writing sentences, and then some other little activities. So, tracing the lines in these monster pictures, and some questions about them, which, yeah, as I said, I will get into. So yeah, these are the parent-teacher notes. So we have 3 kinds of notes. We have the pencil icon, which means it's to do with drawing, tracing the lines or coloring. We have the question mark, which is about talking about the picture. And we have the magnifying glass, which is about looking closer. So in context, on this page, which we've already seen, we've got the pencil icon, and the children are encouraged to color the parrots pink and purple. So this is something that they can maybe sound out when they're coloring, the P for the pink and the P for the purple. So again, making that link really strong between the written and the sound. And then for this one, it is talk about the picture. So the question is, why might the duck be sad? And maybe it's sad because the other ducks are dancing and it doesn't have anyone to dance with. So really trying to elicit the D sounds in the answer. Because, yeah, practicing, again, the sounds. And then finally, a look closer one. So in this example, it's what is hiding behind the coral? And it's an octopus. This is page 2 of the O. Okay, this is my favorite bit of these books. This is Spot the Frog. So we were really trying to think of how we were going to integrate a reminder for kids to be practicing the froggy leg grip when they're writing. And we thought about icons, but that didn't really work. We came up with just hiding a frog on, I'd say, about every other spread in these books. So when the children see the frog and it's something they're actively looking out for, so they really engage with it, they will be hopefully reminded to, adjust their grip to make sure they're holding it correctly. So here the frog is lying on a log watching a ladybird race, which is the second page of the L spread. And here the frog is hiding in the audience of a mouse music concert. But yeah, that's my favorite, one of my favorite bits of these. And they will also have, as part of the page layout, at the beginning of the book, they're going to have a recap of the letters they learned in the last book. And again, they'll have the visual hints. So they'll be following the S to a seal and the P to a parrot. So they'll still be able to make that really strong connection between the letter and the sound. And then at the end, they will have a recap. This is probably the most intensive writing page, but just a little recap of the letters they've learnt in the book and a suggestion to draw a picture in the little boxes.
And Jenny, that's quite a powerful activity, actually. That's reversing the skill and also their comprehension, and makes it very meaningful when they can do a little drawing, making the connection to the initial sound. So this is really a lovely way to consolidate a lot of things going on. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it works. It works really well as a recap. So these are going to be available in print and precursive, but we've tried to keep the illustrations and the content the same as much as possible. So for example, in this spread on the precursive page, we've got the letter K with the little tail at the end, the loop, and then the flick upwards. And they are practicing this on the next page with the bow at the bottom of the kites. They're practicing that shape. And on the print page, it's exactly the same illustration, but here they're getting that practice for the chevron on the edge of the K, the sort of right-angled bit on the left side of the kites. And then here are 2 pages, one from the print and one from the precursive. And we've got the joined up digraphs in the precursive. And yeah, well, we can see they're joined up, and in the bodies of the snails, they're joining them up and they're making part of the snail's head with them. But in the print, they will be not joined up, so they will have the two separate letter form practices. And then finally, just a fun problem that we encountered when we were doing this. This is from the precursive, but the print looks exactly the same, except for the tails except for the handwriting itself. But the illustration at the end of the first set of letters, SAT, there aren't that many phrases you can make, but you do have ants in pants, which is a great phrase. And I really wanted to try and illustrate that, but make it appropriate for not only a British audience who has one idea of pants, but also a universal audience, which tends to have idea as pants as trousers. So we had this illustration which has both the underpants and the trousers, and both have little ants in them. So we made that sentence work for both, that sentence and that illustration work for both print and precursive. And that's the end of my presentation. Oh, you're muted, Yvonne.
Okay, so we have a question asking if we have any of the books with capital letters, and the decision was made not to have capital letters yet because children are still making that connection with lowercase and, you know, the grapheme and the phoneme. Is that correct, Jenny?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and you may be asking, how would I use these books in my class? Well, there's several ways that you can use them, and one of the ways is to support what you are doing with the handbook or possibly the pupils' books. And also what you can be doing with them is using them for support. If you have a child who is struggling at that moment with their handwriting skills, or who may be on an IEP and need extra support. And these are absolutely wonderful, Jenny, to facilitate that. You can have them planned within your lesson time. I imagine that's something that came across your ideas with the books. And they're a lovely size. Now, tell us why you chose that small version as opposed to A4.
I actually don't know. This was given to me as a brief, but they're very portable. They're good to take home for handwriting practice, homework. And I think, for me, I think they're not intimidating. You don't have to fill a whole page with handwriting or things like that. You have quite a small size, so you don't have like intensive amounts to do.
I think also when we're looking with small hands, little hands, and doing the work, it's manageable. And also for some children who are finding mark making and letter formation challenging, not having a great big page, it can be often overwhelming for
Yeah.
children, and it's easy to manage. And Sarah, what would you like to say about the handwriting books?
No, they're very sweet. And you know, correct pencil formation is so important to get it right in the first place, because that's so much easier than having to correct it later on. And also, you know, forming the letters, you need lots of practice of. I know we've got a line on the sound sheets or in the workbooks, but actually you need to go back, like with all things, you need to go back and practice. You need to go back and do it again and again so that children really remember it and they get that motor memory by practicing and doing the formation and the letters correctly. And as I say, yeah, that is how you develop neat handwriting, which is what we are all aiming for.
Yeah. And I think also what we're looking at is this is a nice inclusion, an accompaniment to the core program, and one that, you know, the last thing children manage to master, they can get their visual insight, they can get their audio, is handwriting is challenging. It takes time. as Sarah said, and also developing the fine motor skills. So we still endorse all that multi-sensory activities that you're doing in the classroom, using the fingers. And this is a nice, gentle introduction. And I love the way that Jenny has got the froggy grip, reinforcing that all the way through, the little prompts, and also the connection to the initial sound and the illustration. Did it come easily, Jenny?
It depends. Well, sometimes it did. Sometimes it was just like, oh yeah, of course. But then obviously there were a few digraphs that were really racked my brains to try and come up with something that worked for both of those things.
Right.
I can't think of any right now, but yeah, it
They
was
really are lovely. And I'd
very.
like to ask if anyone has any questions that they'd like to ask the author and the creator of the resources before we wrap up. We've got a few minutes before we do that. And I would say, what would be the suggested age group to be using these resources, Jenny?
We've said 4 to 5. I think I mean, earlier than that, I think they're going to struggle sort of making letter forms. They will be practicing the kind of fine motor skills before them, but yeah, we would suggest 4 to 5. So
They're designed to run alongside the phonics handbook. So as you're doing
yeah,
the work in the phonics handbook, and the first time you introduce it, they get the sound sheet, or they do the page in the pupil book. But then during the next few days or the next week or whatever, then they can do some of the pages in the handbook, which will reinforce the work that you've done. Obviously, you can't use them before you started teaching the sounds and teaching formation. Very young children just haven't got the motor control in order to complete them. So as I say, we envisage them really being used to run alongside the main, the first Jolly Phonics handbook. Slightly behind that, because obviously you need to teach them how to write each letter before you then ask them to practice it within the handwriting book.
And some of you are mentioning that in your countries, the curriculum for writing starts at 3. Well, these are designed to have that flexibility. As with all the program, it's highly adaptable, highly flexible, and you can use them at your own pace. You don't have to rush through them if your curriculum insists that children start writing. But also, at 3 years old, writing can be finger formation in the sand. It can be finger tracking. It can be mark making. So it's quite a broad area as well. And someone's asked about the size. They're about the size of half A4. So if you imagine the pupils book, it's half the size of the pupils book. Very easy to manage. And again, they come in the 7 letter sound groups, and getting more progressively skill demanding as we go. We're pushing the children with their skills and doing things, but they are really lovely. Prices, you can find all the prices for your local area on the e-commerce store. And let me see if there's any more questions.
want me to just go and grab some of the handwriting books to just show the size?
There's some on my desk outside if you'd like to
Yeah,
go.
I saw them
So
earlier.
those, yeah. So she's just going to go and grab them, which is this. So you can tell this is really live.
They're a compact size, so they're not going to take up huge amounts of room in the classroom or on the desks. And yeah, a good size for small hands to cope with. And as I say, not a huge amount to do, but again, they form the letters, they go over the dots and do the things they've got to do. But even colouring in, that is developing handwriting, that's developing pencil control, colouring neatly, staying within the lines. So again, there's lots in them, lots more than you might perhaps first of all think.
And Jenny's got it there. Look at them, Jenny.
Yeah, so we've got the print letters one here, and we've got, oh yeah, the precursive here.
You can even colour in the front page. Look at that, the cover.
Yeah. I mean, we wanted to print them in black and white, so yeah, they are encouraged to colour in.
Yeah.
The introduction page we have with the instructions there, they are encouraged to colour in and colour in within the lines, which is just further practice for them.
Yeah. Love them. Aren't they absolutely wonderful? And I think also when you have them in your classroom, you will see the possibilities. And again, we've come from looking at the folk tales. What if we could get the children to talk about what they've just coloured in, or the letter formation, talking about the ducks? What do you know about the ducks? What sounds do they make? Vocabulary, vocabulary, vocabulary. Look at every resource we have as an opportunity to extend their vocabulary, their phonemic awareness. And now with the letter formation, so many possibilities. I mean, Sarah and I have been teachers for too long now. We remember the days when we had nothing and how we made it into everything. So these are great. So we're getting some positive feedback in the messages, which is absolutely wonderful. And thank you, Ollie, for keeping them all up to date on where they can find all the resources. And if there are any more questions, we're nearly finishing on time. Any more questions? Lots of practice ideas. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful books. And I have to say that when you've been in a classroom where you have children who get very frustrated with their handwriting, this is a wonderful thing to be able to offer them, because sometimes just giving them a blank sheet of paper with a couple of lines is incredibly frustrating when they don't know the starting point and the finishing point of a letter shape. Wouldn't you agree, Sarah?
Yeah, you'd say these got a sense of humour that we try and bring to what we do within them as well. So, they are a delight to look at.
Yeah. And I hope that you enjoy using the resource, and we'd love to hear your experiences of using them, because you find a way that we didn't think of, or working with a child who has been struggling, and we'd love to know how you are managing using the folk tales and also the handwriting books in your classroom dynamic. So I think we're nearly at the time. Any more questions? I'm just going to check if we have any questions. Will they be digitalized? Well, we're always mindful of the request for digital, but also we're mindful that a lot of schools don't do photocopying anymore. And there's something really nice, I think, Sarah, you'll agree, about having a little book, because you can see the progression. And also, if you're explaining to a school inspector a child's progression or their difficulties, having everything in one place makes it a lot easier, doesn't it, Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, instead of having 24 sheets of paper or however much it is, it is all contained and together and neat within the book. So it works very well.
Yeah. So from the point of view with the little handbooks, evaluation and assessment of the children's progression, it's great because you can see where they were really going out of the lines to them getting so perfect. And that's what we want to show parents as well. So it's nice to have the little books put together. Well, I think we're coming to the end now, and no more questions. Keep creating, Jenny and Sarah, and yeah, can't wait to share with the children. Please let us know how you get on with the folk tales with the children, how you're using them, and yeah, it's lovely. So, Jenny and Sarah, were there anything you'd like to add?
No, just if it's your morning, have a nice day. If it's your evening, have a good night. And it'll be lovely to catch up with people and to hear your experiences.
Yeah. And again, Jenny, now what's the next project? We want to see more, so no pressure.
Yeah, I'll do my best. I'll try and live up to my own standards if I
They
can.
are
So thank you so much.
We've got her busy on other projects. She's not
Yeah, we're
not
all
lacking with work.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jolly community, for joining us. And we are always open to your ideas and suggestions for webinars and what you'd like to hear more about. And again, we are very appreciative of anything you'd like to share with us. So thank you for sharing your time this afternoon. And thank you, Sarah and Jenny. And we look forward to seeing you all again soon. And bye for now. And have a wonderful afternoon.